Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about what would happen if Naruto had storm release. And yeah, this is one of those videos that has been done over and over, but hear me out. You're still going to watch it because I changed the answers for question 26 and 16. So it is different, all right? All right. Hey, I don't make the rules. I just follow them. All right. When I sat down on my desk to write this story, I almost immediately knew what I wanted to do. I'm gonna make Naruto just like Gaara. And a lot of you guys probably won't understand what I mean by that, but if you kinda do and you're excited, awesome. If not, who cares? Anyways, this story starts off in Hiruzen's office, where a meeting would actually be being held concerning what to do with Naruto, whether to kill him or exile him until he can control his powers. Because earlier that day, 3 hours ago to be exact, Naruto lost control of a Kekkei Genkai he didn't even know he had, while the villagers were beating Naruto on his 7th birthday for, of course, being the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. And because of this, Naruto lost control, killing 20 plus villagers. So now, Hiruzen is left with an extremely tough decision where he has to either kill Naruto or pretty much banish him from the village for a set period of time. And so, he ends up placing Naruto under Anbu guard, while Jiraiya gets a message which will take about a week, and then it would take him about a week and a half to get back to the land of fire, Konoha. And so once this would happen, Jiraiya would actually end up having to take Naruto under his wing, since Hiruzen would have ended up convincing the elders to just exile the boy. So Naruto would leave the Leaf Village with Jiraiya way earlier than in canon, and would be trained by the Sannin himself, which I can definitely see Naruto initially being heavily against this, but eventually beginning to actually like Jiraiya and seeing him in a fatherly figure type of way. Because of this, Naruto would develop his taijutsu skills way better than in canon, and his chakra control issues would be addressed way earlier than in the original story. So because of this, Naruto would grow in power exponentially during this 6-year time skip, never having to really deal with chakra issues and actually having guidance, with his training leaving him in a state of genius-like ninja territory before the story even starts. And because of this, Naruto developed his storm release heavily, and since his body was weaker, trying to train with the Nine Tails at this age really wasn't working, and it was basically borderline impossible for him. So he made little to no progress with his Nine Tails powers and basically just focused on his storm release and Kenjutsu skills, aka swordsmanship, which he uses in conjunction with his storm release when it comes to his techniques that he would have developed and learned over this time skip. Things like creating lightning attacks, cages, dragons, and even learning how to channel it into his blade like Sasuke does, as well as how to channel it through his eyes and mouth for sneaky close-up attacks, just like Madara would have done to Naruto in the 4th Great Shinobi World War. And because of this, Naruto would have also ended up developing his ultimate defense jutsu, an omnidirectional lightning barrier that pretty much protects him from anything, so similar to the one that Gaara has, like the sand that just moved by itself and protects him. Naruto would have managed to learn something just like that, and bro basically becomes Gaara, but with control over himself and not having to deal with the sad depression and bloodlust that Gaara had to deal with at the beginning of the story. And he would do all this at the age of 13. Bro's him low-key. So yeah, you know he's gonna be a little cocky, and I do mean just a little, because Jiraiya makes sure to humble him every single day. But regardless of that, Naruto would eventually return to the village, checking in with Hiruzen one day before the Genin teams are actually assigned, and so Naruto gets placed onto Team 7 and would be given a day to readjust to the village, and also even be given an apology by Hiruzen, who tells Naruto he really should have done more while he was younger. But Naruto would stop him in his tracks, saying that if it wasn't for him, all these blessings that he now has wouldn't have been in his path, and he would say the Lord will use what the enemy intended for evil and make it good. As he walks out and takes a cookie from Hiruzen's desk, as he walks away towards his own house and would chew on it, with Hiruzen being like, hey wait, not even realizing that Naruto had straight snagged it. So Hiruzen in that moment would wonder to himself, Just how strong have you gotten, Naruto? While he simultaneously would look at Jiraiya and begin to conversate with him. But after this, Naruto would end up making his way towards his own house and would see a massive mess and an extreme amount of dust as he goes on to create 10 shadow clones and would walk through the village while his shadow clones clean his house, where some people begin to actually recognize him and begin to murmur amongst themselves, "Wait, isn't that the demon?" But Naruto doesn't really care until a villager tries to actually get in his way and pick a fight, but he'd be quickly neutralized by a small static shock as he would jump up on top of a tower as he looks onto everybody and say, "Listen up, Naruto Uzumaki's back in town, deal with it or else," as he goes off to grab some ramen while everybody would just kind of stare at him in awe as he would literally be fiending for this ramen, and he would go on to enjoy himself for the day, while eventually the next day would roll around where he'd be placed onto Team 7 and would be told about the bell test, which he obviously easily passes because of the fact that during the 6-year time skip, Jiraiya would have let out a ton of ninja secrets, so Naruto obviously knows the gist of the test, which is really just teamwork, and so using that, he'd be able to convince them to work together where they're able to actually get the bells using Naruto's KK Genkai and leadership skills, which he would have actually gained over the time skip obviously, as after this, the team goes on 2 weeks worth of D-rank missions, which Naruto doesn't actually mind, but eventually, the Tazuna mission is assigned to them, and oh boy do they get down to business. This mission all starts off at the village gates, where as soon as they embark on the land of the waves, about an hour into their journey, they end up being encountered by the Demon Brothers, who try to catch them off guard, but the second they lunge at Naruto, Naruto smirks as a small burst of storm release shoots out from behind him and would block the blow. Then, turning into a storm release bear, it would obliterate one of the brothers, as Sasuke on the other hand would handle the other brother, and then they continue the mission, where eventually Zabuza finally decides that he's going to be making his presence known, and so would end up getting in a 1v1 battle with Kakashi, only for Kakashi to get trapped and Naruto and the team being left for them to have to rescue Kakashi. Now, in this version, Naruto would sigh as he would then look towards Kakashi and just whisper, "Sorry about this," as he would lift his hand up as suddenly small lightning particles begin to shoot off of him, as eventually they transform into a giant lightning dragon that shoots off towards Zabuza as it completely destroys him, and the lightning would be conducted by the water itself, as Kakashi in essence gets splash damage done from this, as Naruto jumps in the water to save him, only to then be shocked when he realizes the surface of the water would be frozen and the water became cold. Then he would turn to his left as he would see a ninja jump out of the water in an area where the water wasn't being covered by ice, and he would notice that Zabuza was also being taken with him, as Naruto in this moment would remain calm, and from his mouth would shoot a beam of storm release that would destroy the ice, letting himself and Kakashi go off to safety, as Naruto would crack his neck and say, "That almost worked," then blitzing behind Haku, and with one swing of his sword, kills him, as Sasuke and Sakura would be completely stunned at Naruto's power. As from here, we then arrive back at Tazuna's house, where the bridge would finally be completed, and Team 7 would end up returning to Konoha, only to be informed of the Chunin exams by Hiruzen, as the team ultimately, just like in canon, would accept the offer to join the Chunin exams, and so would end up preparing themselves for this, as Naruto would spend most of his time working on a technique he's been thinking of lately, and eventually, they would be encountered by Lee in the Chunin exams building, as Sasuke gets his butt handed to him, and Naruto would tell Neji that he's gonna knock him down a couple of pegs. As from here, we get the test, followed by the Forests of Death, where, I'm just gonna say it, Naruto gets humbled by another one of the legendary Sannin. Because, well, let's just be real. Naruto's powers, while yes, they seem super overpowered on the surface, we have to understand that in this verse, there is still a lot of characters who could single-handedly whoop Naruto. If Jiraiya could do it, Orochimaru definitely could. And I definitely see Naruto impressing Orochimaru enough for him to try to give him a curse mark. However, ultimately, because of the fact that Naruto does have the QB, it would end up basically healing and not letting the curse mark fully set on Naruto, with Orochimaru looking at him and thinking, shame, your prowess with your Kekkei Genkai is only second to Itachi Uchiha, as Naruto from here would be taken out of commission, and ultimately so does Sasuke after getting the curse mark, leaving us with both being defended by Sakura and the events in the story pretty much aligning perfectly with canon, until eventually Sasuke wakes up and goes absolutely nuts to butts, as he would eventually be stopped by Naruto's Thunder Cage, as he'd be taken care of after Naruto would heal from the curse mark, all thanks to Kurama, who thanks to his healing would be able to basically save him from basically having to deal with a pervert Orochimaru. And because of that, we would eventually jump into the 1v1 fights, which, come on now, obviously Naruto beats Kiba. But here, the change is, instead of Naruto facing Neji, I decided it would actually be a lot more interesting if we could see Naruto face Gaara. So that's what we're going to cover after the 1 month of training, obviously. Lightning versus sand. Eventually, after training for 1 month, Naruto would find himself in front of an unstable Gaara, as Gaara would shoot sand at Naruto, who using his blade would slash at it and would ask if that's really all he has, before saying his sand is way too slow to keep up with him, as he'd go on to say that if this keeps on going like this, it's gonna be like taking candy from a baby, before Naruto would then blitz in at Gaara, giving him Lee flashbacks, as he would send Gaara flying back, as he would then land, look at Naruto, put up a sand wall, and use his ultimate sand defense, as Naruto would laugh at this and would begin to power up Dragon Ball Z style, until eventually Storm Release would coat his body like armor, and he would rush in at Gaara's defense, saying, Raijin's judgment, as he rushes in and sends Gaara flying into the stadium walls, leaving a crater with his body in it, with Gaara being completely knocked out, as Orochimaru would be completely shocked at this, and Naruto would smirk as he'd be declared the winner. And right after this would happen, Orochimaru would light the signal for the attack, as Naruto, watching all this go down, would turn to Hiruzen and sees the fake Kazekage trying to fight Hiruzen, so he would blitz in and ask Orochimaru, which he knows of course it's him, what in the world he thinks he's doing, as Orochimaru laughs and says, brat, as Hiruzen turns to Naruto and asks him if he can truly keep up, and Naruto just smirks and says, I don't know, can I? Behind Orochimaru displaying insane speeds, as Orochimaru would be caught off guard completely, and Naruto would quote unquote kill Orochimaru, who we all know didn't really die. But after witnessing that, Hiruzen just stares at Naruto in complete dumbfoundedness, as what he just saw was completely incredible. But in this moment, Naruto would pass out from energy consumption, as Hiruzen catches him thinking, he truly is the son of the Yellow Flash. Before then, watching as the Sound 4 would leave, noticing that they had already lost since Orochimaru was defeated. And after this happens, we find ourselves in a strange position, all thanks to the events that have gone down, because this time around, Naruto doesn't talk no jutsu Gaara, so Gaara never ends up becoming Kage. And because Naruto saves Hiruzen, Hiruzen's able to stay Kage and actually ensure of the fact that Jiraiya goes on to take the mantle of Lord Fifth. So once Naruto wakes back up, he'd be informed of everything that happened, and he would train alone in the Forest of Death. Meanwhile, Itachi and Kisame enter the village, but they would retreat just like in canon after a battle against the Jonin ninjas. So after this happens, we eventually get a 3-year time skip where even though Sasuke would go with Orochimaru, since Orochimaru is temporarily dead, he can't exactly entice Sasuke. So he just kind of stays in the village, remaining a little weaker in canon considering he doesn't have the amplifications that Orochimaru injected Sasuke with during the 3-year time skip. So because of this, Sasuke stays a little weaker than in canon, but Naruto on the other hand grew a lot stronger in the village, since he's already done a 3-year time skip by this point with Jiraiya, and because Sasuke never leaves, Naruto and Sasuke end up becoming good friends and semi-rivals, as Naruto during the time skip finally begins working on his Nine-Tails training, as well as learning Sage Mode and a couple more lightning jutsus of course, and when the time skip ends, we don't even get the Gaara retrieval mission, considering Gaara was never a Kamikaze Kage, so we kinda just skip to the death of Asuma, and when this happens, Naruto arrives to the battlefield with Shikamaru, wanting his get back for Asuma, where he would obliterate Kakuzu, but this time around, Naruto doesn't use a Rasen Shuriken since he never learns it, and after this, just like in canon, Sasuke faces off against Itachi. However, while this happens, Naruto would fight Kisame, who wouldn't let him through, and since we already know how Itachi versus Sasuke would go, let's just cover Naruto with Storm Release against Kisame. I imagine the battle starting with Kisame stealing a bit of Naruto's chakra, and Naruto beginning to play with Kisame at first, leading to Kisame landing a couple of good blows on Naruto, but eventually, Naruto starts shooting lightning attacks at Kisame, which he would try to avoid, but Kisame's just not fast enough, so he ends up having to merge with Samehada, and Naruto would finally end up getting serious, displaying Raikage levels of speed easily in base, as he blitzes in and clashes with Kisame, who thinks they're even, until Naruto would finally land the final blow, putting Kisame in the ground in about 3 seconds flat. As he goes on to see a lightning dragon from the distance, shooting from the sky, as he would arrive to the battlefield where Sasuke and Itachi are at, only to watch Itachi die and Sasuke passing out, where Naruto, once seeing this, would rush in, trying to help Sasuke up, as it would be in this moment when Obito would appear from his portal and would tell Naruto he'll be taking him. But Naruto says no, as he would try to grab at Obito, but obviously it doesn't work because Kamui, duh. And because of this, Naruto would jump back as he and Obito would begin clashing, and Naruto eventually asks who he is, with Obito using his Big Daddy Chungus voice saying, "I'm Madara Uchiha," stunning Naruto, who says, "Well then, I guess it's gonna be quite an honor to take down the ghost of the Uchiha," as he powers up, and Obito would watch this unimpressed, with Naruto rushing in before then being stabbed by Obito with a rod, stunning Naruto as he would jump back in pain, ripping it out as he instantly begins healing thanks to Kurama, and Naruto's pupils begin to change to the Nine Tails eyes, as from here, 4 tails would sprout out of him, and Naruto's Storm Release cloak would cover all that, as once again, Naruto rushes in, but would realize that even though he's faster, he still can't hit Obito, and Obito can't hit him because of his speed, so it's a stalemate. And Naruto also realizes that if this battle continues like this, he's gonna lose, considering that the energy consumption that this takes is massive. And so Naruto would whisper under his breath, "Damn it," as he continues fighting, and in his mindscape, he would hear Kurama telling Naruto to basically take some of his chakra, that while he may dislike Naruto, he hates that man. And so after Naruto fist bumps with Kurama, suddenly Naruto's powers all sort of click in this moment, where because the Nine Tails isn't fighting against Naruto at every moment that he's using his powers, Naruto's finally able to activate Sage Mode on top of his Lightning Cloak and KCM too. So Naruto would be able to outspeed Obito so much faster, and the levels of speed that Naruto would display here would be that of like if he had a Sage 6 Path Sage Mode on here. So it's truly legendary how fast Naruto's moving. And so in one fell swoop, Naruto would wait for Obito to phase back in and become tangible, as he would cut Obito's head clean off his body in 1 split second, and ultimately after that would happen, Naruto, using his sensory abilities, realizes that somebody else was near the battlefield, as he blitzes towards Zetsu, killing him as well, and from here, Naruto would grab Sasuke, as he would go on to thank Kurama in his mindscape, and eventually he would return to the village, where it would be in rubble, considering that Pain would have attacked during this time, looking for Naruto, who wasn't in the village, and because Jiraiya this time around wasn't fighting Pain alone, I think Jiraiya could have actually held his own in this battle. So because of that, he'd be able to defeat Pain with the help of others in the village, and as soon as Naruto would arrive, Jiraiya would ask Naruto for a briefing on his mission, asking him what happened, as Naruto says, "Nothing happened."